And it's good to be here. Always happy to speak at an AA meeting. Welcome to our newcomer. Welcome to the after party. Life gets good in here, man. It's not just a veil of tears in here. A lot of good times, good camaraderie, fellowship, joy, laughter, fun. All those things that I never thought I would find in AA were the very things that I found when I got here. Before I got here, I thought my life was over, that I'd never have fun again because I couldn't drink and do drugs the way that I wanted to. And lo and behold, I came in here feeling like crap, and I did some work, and eventually I met some very good friends in here. And really just fell in love with AA and with the fellowship, and found out that it's not just all seriousness, and there's a lot of levity and humor to be had, and in fact, you know, a lot of that gallows humor that we share in here really I've found is some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life, you know? Just the fact that we can laugh about humiliating ourselves and some really truly heinous things that happen in our lives, and yet find the humor in it. I mean, that's such a gift. And I've said before, you know, that in a lot of ways I think that God is a sense of humor, you know, and I know that I'm experiencing God in a real tangible way when I have a sense of humor, and when I can see, when I can laugh at myself and laugh at just how ridiculous this life really is, this short time that we have here, and it goes so fast. You know, I'm coming up on 20 years, no fronts, but you know, 19 years, 10 months, and wow, shit went quick, you know. Never thought I'd get anywhere near 20 years of sobriety. I never could get 20 days of sobriety before I came to AA. And look at me now, got my big boy pants on. So yeah, it's great, you know. And the pink cloud doesn't go away, you know. There's no reason for it, you know. I'm not saying there isn't ups and downs. I'm not saying I haven't had some dry times in 20 years, but for the most part, I've stayed fired up on Alcoholics Anonymous, man. The joy that I get out of doing the spiritual work, out of helping other alcoholics stay sober, and experiencing God in a really tangible, practical way, it's always been an inspiration to me. And at 19 years and 10 months, I'm on just as much of a pink cloud as I've ever been. In some ways more so, because God just keeps revealing itself to me in deeper and more meaningful ways. And it's awesome. It's good times. You know, when in my first year of sobriety, I was really lucky, you know. I came in here and I was just beat up from the feet up, you know. I was just done. I couldn't go on anymore. I really thought I was going to die from what I was doing. And I was certainly emotionally and spiritually dead inside. So I came to my first AA meeting outside of the rehab that I was in, and I had about 7 jackets on and my hood, and I was all sucked up and shaky and barely can make it up those stairs at ARA. And there's a lot of stairs that lead up to ARA if you've ever been there. It was quite a challenge to me as a newcomer. That's how physically, you know, beat up I was. And you know, I met my sponsor at that first meeting. You know, I mean, I knew the guy from before, and I knew that he'd used and drank, you know, as much as I did, if not more, and yet there he was, sober, you know. There was something about his eyes. I don't know what it was, but the old boy was on fire, you know. It was one of those kind of things. I could see that it worked, you know, on him. I came to believe right then and there, you know, my, what's that line I love so much in the big book? My idea of miracles was revised at that very moment, you know, when I saw this thing working in a human heart, you know, that this guy had changed. And this is all just a ridiculously long wind-up to the story that, so I started working with this guy, and we, and it was great because he lived at, you know, Masonic and Haight, which was, you know, skateboard distance from where I was living, walking distance from where I was living in rehab at the Olaf house at Fellensteiner, and and it was great. He had this girlfriend, and she loved to cook. So I mean, it's such a beautiful relationship that I had with this man, because I'd go over there and I was just like this little, sponsee baby, and I would just go up there, and just sit, and we'd read the big book, and she would cook, and we'd eat these communal meals with his roommates, and it was just, I don't know, it was just a blessing. But the funny thing about it was, and then, this is like the late 90s, and we're still watching VHS tapes or whatever, like renting video. Remember renting videos? We're still renting videos, right? We'd go to the video store, and so we're there watching videos, and we're watching Black Sheep, that Chris Farley movie. And I had this fucking laughing fit in the part when he's at the cabin or whatever, and he goes out to go flyering or whatever it is, and then he falls down this hill, and he's just tumbling, ass over kettle, just down this hill, and he can't stop. I mean, it's a good metaphor, really, for addiction and alcoholism, really. And then he finally kind of stops, and he holds oh, little root, please hold me, and then that thing gives way, and he goes falling. And I could not stop. I literally thought I was going to frickin' die. Like, I could not breathe. It was not funny. It was like, you know what I mean? I just could, for like 10 minutes, I could not stop this hysterical laughter. And it was so purging and clearing and cleansing, and, something got unlocked. I don't know what the hell it was. I'm not trying to say it was like this, spiritual white light experience, but I'm just saying I laughed my ass off in sobriety. That was the whole point of that whole goddamn spiel. So, welcome, brother. My time's done, so I can see you guys later. Keep laughing, man. It really is the medicine. And I know that I'm experiencing God when I'm smiling, I mean, that's a form of spiritual practice that some pretty, heavyweight spiritual teachers teach. Smile meditation, smile practice. You just go around and smile at people. It works. It's insane. Probably not what you want to hear. You come to AA meeting, you're all serious. Oh, fuck, I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. Tough guy. Don't tell me to smile. And I know how it is. I didn't want to smile either, but I love it. I do it now. I run. I like to run, and that's my practice. I run. I live right back here, and I run over the hill, and I run down the Rockaway, and I run up to wherever the hell down there by Valimar. And I just smile at everybody I see. And it's so great. Just smile. Just get your cheeks up. And it's funny, man. It changes me on that. That's the way of sort of changing my insides through just this little practice, And that bridge that I build, in doing that, and really just touching that core, fundamental human emotion, that exchange between people. I mean, that to me is what God is. That's that tangible, practical God experience that I've learned here in Alcoholics Anonymous, because I was able to clear out my resentments. I was able to clear out my fears, to really see the truth in the futility of trying to run my own life through self-centeredness and self-seeking. And then to make amends for the problem, for the harms that I'd done, and clear all that wreckage away between me and this experience of the divine, whatever that turned out to be, and to be able to meditate and to pray to whatever I got to find God to be, and build that relationship, and ultimately to bring this message to other alcoholics. All those things got me to that place where I can run, and smile at people, and have that practice, and it's great, So what else is there really? This idea of helping other alcoholics, I really, I made the decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of this thing that I didn't really understand, but I knew it had to do with care and with love, So for me to pray, to be loved, and to give love, and I could see in that dynamic, in that spiritual principle, in that path, in that direction of receiving love and giving love, that carrying this message to other alcoholics was my path. And that's why I love to share at these meetings, I'm not going to apologize. I know I shared at this meeting 7 months ago. I shared on this very, on March 15th last year here in town, and I just tend to get asked to share a lot at this time of year. I don't know why. This is weird. Like I shared last 2 weeks ago, and I'm sharing on Sunday at a meeting, and it's just that time of year for me. I don't know. God takes care of me. Not to get all, whatever Machiavellian about it, but I do feel like there's some force out there that takes care of me, and it seems to put these engagements in my life as I come up to my birthday every year. So, I thank you guys for being here. This is service, whether you know it or not. You're keeping me sober, so I thank you for letting me carry my message, and for letting me remember that this is my gift, that my experience, the tragedy, the demoralization, and ultimately the victory and the joy that I've experienced is my gift, and that I get to share that. So, and that's what this working with others thing really is, I got a sponsor at my first AA meeting. It wasn't my plan. What do you call that but providence, I don't know what it is. I didn't believe in God, and yet I look back and go, wow, better than anything I ever could have planned, and I wanted to get into this thing right away. I was blessed with the understanding that this is an egalitarian, democratic society of equals, and that everybody here's experience is just as valid as everybody else's, and that I can participate in here. And not only can I, but it's sort of the way this thing works is for us all to participate and tell our story and give our gift and express that, It's fun, kind of on that note, I am a bit of a jnana yogi. I'm really into knowledge and study, and I seek union with a higher power through my study, through my spiritual study. So, and I love words. I love reading. I bring the book when I share because it's just part of my practice. It's not the focus of everybody's practice, but I love words and I love looking into them. And one of these words that, I'm reading this book by Thomas Merton right now, who's this silent Catholic monk. Basically, I think it's probably the easiest way to describe what he did, and he was a writer, and he keeps talking about his vocation. There's this idea of being an apostolate, which is sort of like an apostle, somebody that brings a spiritual message to the world, and as part of that, in religion, I'm not of any particular religion, but there's this idea of having a vocation, which is basically an appointment, usually goes along with some training, where you bring the message of your spiritual teaching to the world. And I love the fact that in this book, so in reading for years I've been reading this book with people, and it says this work that we do is an avocation. And I always thought, well, that just means that it's not a paid job. We're not professionals, which is true. We're not a trained group of counselors in here bringing this message, which is absolutely true, and I think that's what I love about language. It's multi-layered, it can have multiple meanings, but here I am finally reading something directly related to carrying a spiritual message and having a vocation. This guy became a priest, essentially, and he keeps fighting with this idea of he hasn't been given a vocation, and it just finally hit me how beautiful that is, that we have this avocation, that we're not appointed to this thing. We're not trained and appointed and given this, license to share this message. No, we take it because we know that it's our life solution. We claim it for ourselves to carry this message. One, for survival, and two, because we fucking want to, because we love it, because we enjoy it, we want to help people. And I don't know if that was too much of an explanation of that, but just to say, this is it's where I'm at today. So I love this idea of working with others, simply in carrying the message of Alcoholics Anonymous and teach. And so I got a sponsor. I believed it worked. I knew my life was unmanageable because I couldn't stop using. I knew I was powerless because I couldn't control my use. I made a decision to do the rest of the steps, maybe even for an ego reason, for an arrogant reason, because I thought that because I wanted to help other alcoholics. I actually had at least enough ego in me to say, my fucking story matters. My what I experienced was so horrible that I got to tell other people about this so that they don't have to experience that. You know what I mean? And whether that's true or not, it led me, it directed me in wanting to help other alcoholics and to get through the steps and do that. And the beauty of the spiritual path is that things change. I mean, life in general changes. So what first was like, I want to be able to help people not have to experience what I went through, because it seemed so acute at the time, so devastating and so painful. But later I realized it's not about prevention. It's about bringing aid to the sufferer. It's not so much that I'm going to try to prevent you from having to go through what I went through. It's fuck, you're going through what I went through. You're going through what I'm going through. And I want to help you get through that. You know, the beautiful spiritual law and principle and truth behind that is that as I help you, I'm helped, you know. And so I went through the steps. I did a fourth step. I wanted to do a fourth step. People kind of, I feel like there's an air in AA about the fourth step being something sort of negative or difficult or painful or scary. And it was not my experience. I'm not saying it was easy to do. The hardest thing was just sitting my ass in the chair and writing the thing. I think it feels like homework, and that's probably the biggest impediment, but I only know my own experience. But I can tell you this, every minute I put into it, I got something out of it. You know, I mean, the relief that I got from going through this process, this spiritual cleansing, was so palpable, was so real, and was so huge that I just could never think of the fourth step as a negative experience. I mean, I just got so much out of it, the relief. The word that comes to mind is relief, you know, and I needed relief, man. I was hurting. I felt like crap, and I freaking hated myself. I just hated who I was. And to be able to see that what I hated was my own selfishness, was going through life trying to run the show, and the biggest sin, the biggest shortcoming, whatever you want to call it, was just that I went through life saying, what's in it for me? What can I get out of this? And nothing but pain ever comes from that. You know, it seems like such a big task to live a spiritual life, to really clean up my life and really live on a path and have a real direction. But the truth is, it's just in that simple principle of letting go. You know, what is love? Love is the law. When I don't love, it doesn't feel good. That's the law. I didn't make the law. It's just what's instilled in every human being, truly. I mean, you can call it what you want. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but I do believe that it's in all of us, you know, and it's just the sense of I'm in pain, I'm suffering, when I'm saying what's in it for me. What can I get out of this? Is never, you'd think that would be the way to get happiness, right? I mean, get what I want. But it's truly the opposite, you know. Happiness, as I've experienced it, the spiritual life, the spiritual path, is the love. God is just in saying, what can I do for you? And that's my practice today. I'm not saying every day that's all I do, but literally that is my practice. When I come home now, and you guys have all heard me talk about the way I act generally when I get home, is not, can be very dark and grumpy. And so my practice now is just literally to come home and say those words, what can I do for you? That's my practice today. And I can assure you, well, okay, let's be honest about it. Sometimes I get asked to do something I don't want to do, you know. I'm still working on that, but I just haven't really surrendered yet, you know what I mean? But I come around to it, and I get it done, and I got to be honest about it, right? This is the one that kills me, is that, you know, and this is what's so, you know, we got to be able to laugh at ourselves. I mean, it's hilarious. It's like, I'm like, what can I do for you? Nothing, right? Because they're busy too. But then 5 minutes later, once I'm relaxed and sitting on the couch, and you got, boom, hit the TV. Oh, I need you to freaking do this, this, and this. And I'm just all, no. Fucking every time. I'm such a sick bastard. It's horrible. It's awful. But I just try to get it done. And I can tell you this, I've done everything I've been asked. And I talk like I'm this big spiritual practice. This practice has been going on for probably a week. But it's working, man. It's working. I've done every single thing that I've been asked to do, and never once have I felt like I got gypped out of it, that I was being taken advantage of. Every single time I've felt better for doing it, and that's my practice, So welcome, you guys. Enjoy the ride. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing here. Thank you.
Before we begin.